What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex, and you're watching a Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. Last night I caught a sneak preview screening of Kingsman, The Secret Service, directed by Matthew Vaughn. And I don't know if you guys already know this, but Kingsman, The Secret Service is actually based off a comic book called The Secret Service, created by Dave Gibbons and Mark Millar. Now, if the name Mark Millar sounds familiar, it's because he's also responsible for another popular comic book called Kick-Ass, which got adapted into a film in 2010, also called Kick-Ass, of course, directed by Matthew Vaughn. Now, what's really interesting about Kingsman: The Secret Service is that it combines the best parts about Matthew Vaughn's career. Now, what I'm referring to is that early on in Matthew Vaughn's career, he was a producer for a lot of Guy Ritchie films, such as Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. And then he went on to direct his own film, Layer Cake, which is also set in the criminal underworld of the UK, or rather London. And then he went off to directing Hollywood films, and one of those films is, of course, Kick-Ass, which is his first entry into comic book films. And then he went to direct X-Men First Class. Both Kick-Ass and X-Men First Class were brilliant films. And that's what Kingsman: The Secret Service is. It combines the criminal underworld with comic book films, mixing the ultra-violence of Kick-Ass and Layer Cake, and that's what you get with Kingsman: The Secret Service. Alright? It is a crazy film. It is a very violent film, which is something I didn't expect at all, but I should have known this considering that this is a Matthew Vaughn film. After all, he did direct Kick-Ass, which is a very, very violent comic book film. But anyways, let's talk about the film. The film stars Samuel L. Jackson. We got Colin Firth in there. We have Michael Caine. And we also have an actor which I really, really like, Mark Strong, as well as Taron Egerton, who plays Eggsy, the main character in the film. He is a, he plays a kind of a cliche character, which also suggests that this movie has a bit of a cliche story. Now, by cliche, I mean that, okay, we've seen this kind of story before. It's where the one of the special ops members dies, okay, and then the buddy says he's gonna look after the family, and then he talks to the kid, the son of the guy who died, and says, you know what, I was a good friend of your dad, and I just wanted to make sure you're taken care of. And then, okay, fast forward to several years later, and then he recruits the kid, okay, and then world domination. He has to prevent world domination or something, a big bad evil going on, alright? We've seen this type of thing before. This is nothing new, okay? But it's not like you need anything really new. This is, after all, a comic book movie. But what I like about this movie is that even though it is about world domination, it is something that, it's set in England, okay? So we've seen a lot of world domination comic book movies that are set in America, specifically New York, Avengers, right? But this is something a little bit different. Now, these aren't superheroes per se. They don't wear masks. They are Kingsmen. They're part of the Secret Service, and Kingsman is actually a real thing. But Matthew Vaughn really takes it to the over-the-top level. Samuel L. Jackson plays the big bad villain who speaks with a lisp. I don't know why. Maybe that's how he talks in the comic book. But the lisp is a little something that really throws me off a bit. It didn't really flow well. And then, of course, you have the members of the Kingsman Secret Service. You have Michael Caine, who's the leader. He's the head. You got Colin Firth, I would call Colin Firth he's the hero of the movie. He steals the show in every scene that he's in. Mark Strong is always cool. I like Mark Strong. I like him in this movie. I like him in a lot of other movies. Mike Strong is always on top of his game. And then you have Taron Egerton, who plays Eggsy. And you know what? I like him. I think he has a lot of star quality. But I can't help but think that he keeps on being outstaged or upstaged by the other characters. He's someone who has a lot of charisma, but then you see him keep on getting upstaged by Colin Firth, as well as Sophia Boutella, who plays Gazelle, the blade welding ass kicker. She has blades on her. She walks on blades, okay? she lost her legs and then she walks on blades. I don't know the story or backstory around her character, but every scene that she's in where she's literally kicking ass, she is badass, okay? And that's where I feel that the character of Eggsy keeps on getting upstaged, okay? He has some really great physical stunt moments, like character moments in the movie, but like I said, he keeps on getting upstaged, and I find that Colin Firth is really the hero in the movie. In fact, he gets the front page of the poster. I mean, he's right in the center of the poster. So I gotta say that this is a pretty cool movie. I gotta say it's a cool movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think it's groundbreaking, but it does do a lot of really cool things. And Matthew Vaughn is a really great director. He's a very visual director, and he brings in a lot of his British flavor into the mix, because this is, after all, a film set in the criminal underworld as well as the secret society of these Kingsmen, right? But one thing that's very different about it compared to a lot of American filmmaking about the same type of subject matter is that you see a lot of these, I guess, English aspects, for lack of a better term, that some of the American audiences might not get as much, okay? But yeah, there's a lot of British humor in there, but I think what really excels in this movie is the action. The action is, you know what? The action is so over the top. No, the violence is so over the top that it might be a little bit unsettling for the squeamish. Okay, it's really, really, really violent. In fact, I haven't seen such a violent film in a very, very long time. Okay, and I'm talking ultra violent. No, I'm not talking about ultra violent. I'm talking about hyper violent, because the violence is so over the top that it really feels very comic book like cartoon violence, which it is, but it's just so over the top to the point of being like to the next level. I have never seen a movie this violent in the history of ultra violent films, okay? And the thing about the violence is that it's actually entertaining. But at one point in the movie, I was thinking to myself, when is this gonna stop? When are they gonna stop fighting? Okay, they're not fighting for the sake of fighting. This fighting is getting a little bit disturbing, because a lot of what is going on is a lot of I guess a lot of violence that's happening to innocent bystanders. Okay, so there's a lot of that in this movie, but when it's like one-on-one action where it's like good guys against bad guys, you know what? It's fun to watch, all right? But once it starts getting into really senseless violence, it gets to the point where it's getting a little bit disturbing and borderline offensive, okay? So that's my little thing about it. I think it's a little bit too much, but I love the way it was shot. I've never seen action shot the way it was shot. I can't even tell if it was done all in one take, but the way it was done was just in a way that it's a very immersive experience. Now, there's this one scene I'm going to describe to you without spoiling anything, but I'll just tell you that it was a big fight going on, okay? A huge fight, but the way Matthew Vaughn directed it with the cinematography is that it made you feel like you were in the fight, okay? And Colin Firth was just taking out people left and right, okay? And it was done in a very, very hyper-violent and really beautiful way. Okay, it was almost artistic. Okay, but that's all I really have to say about this movie. The violence and the action is very, very comic book style. It's directed in a very innovative way. The performances were, I won't say they're top notch, but they were entertaining to watch, okay? Especially Mark Strong, as a great supporting character. Colin Firth is on the top of his game, but it wasn't really exercising his acting chops. It was really great. He was great in the stunt work, even though that was most likely a stunt guy, but he just does such a great job. Taron Egerton, he's great when he's on screen, but you know what? Every scene where it's like a physical moment, he does get upstaged by Colin Firth as well as Sophia Boutella, who's always fun to watch whenever she's kicking ass. Samuel Jackson, you know what? That's something that I don't know if I can deal with. I don't know if I can deal with the lisp because I don't know if it really fits the character. It's just a really dorky looking thing. The wardrobe, the way he has a lisp, it just doesn't fit the character for someone who's bent on world domination, okay? So, I don't know what's up with that, but maybe he was written that way in the comic book. But anyways, that's all I really have to say about this movie. This movie's not for the squeamish, but this movie is for someone who really appreciates this type of subject matter, okay? I would call it James Bond meets Kick-Ass. James Bond meets Kick-Ass, and what you get is Kingsman, the Secret Service, specifically directed by Matthew Vaughn. Okay, and there you have it. I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. Alright? So there you have it. That's all I got to say in this video. As always, if you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, @RaginNation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. And there's also... there's a lot of, the Tupac, a song goes off, and it just fits the